This is the Ecommerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Braintrust podcast. I'm Julie Spear, Head of Retail Marketplace Services at Acadia, alongside my co-host, Jordan Ripley, Director of Retail Operations. And today we have an oldie but goodie, a frequent guest, our very own, maybe I shouldn't call you an oldie, Director of Retail Media, Ross Walker. And he's joining us to walk us through a talk that he recently gave at the Commerce Media Brands Summit that was held in Atlanta just last week. Ross is here to talk to us about all things bottom of funnel. Very focused topic today. Not full funnel, bottom of funnel. What's changed, why it matters, and what's a brand to do to maximize this crucial funnel stage. So with that, welcome, Ross. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a really fun topic. It's nice to just admit for a second that the bottom of the funnel still matters a lot.
Yeah.
And to not always be harping on about the upper funnel or trying to tie it all together somehow. Look, it's true, but let's talk about the bottom of the funnel. There's lots of meat there.
In our space, there is the buzzword, the buzz term of the 6 month, the year, whatever it might be, whether it's incrementality or retail media networks as they were blowing up. I do think everything and its brother, if it's not AI, it's full funnel. So yeah, let's go back to the foundation of it all and dig into bottom of funnel. And as we do that, I love to start conversations with definitions. Can you walk us through how you would define what exactly is bottom of funnel? How are you framing this?
Bottom of funnel is really anything where the goal is the purchase of the product, or in many cases, the up-leveling of a normal customer, of a one-time customer to a loyal customer. There's a lot of different KPIs that are associated with that bottom of funnel activity compared to top of funnel activity. So the bottom of the funnel is really all about having a great, getting a good conversion rate, having a good CPA or CAC or ROAS. It's about conversion metrics. In some ways, it's about capturing as much demand as possible. And in other ways, it's about getting in front of the audiences that are most likely to make the purchase and doing it efficiently. Very, very much about conversion at the bottom of the funnel.
And do you define kind of an upper limit as we're creeping up toward middle of funnel? Is there a way to define that barrier before we're bridging into?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Yeah, what does the barrier looks like? I would say from a targeting standpoint is the best way to define it. In terms of the audiences that I would be targeting, if someone hasn't already visited my product detail page or hasn't looked at my product, hasn't searched for my brand, hasn't bought from me before, they are not in the bottom of the funnel. If you've engaged with my brand in some way, searched for it, visited my product detail page, purchased before, you're in the bottom of the funnel. So that's the key behavior. And then from a keyword perspective, if you're doing any kind of targeting that is outside of your own brand keywords or targeting your own products, then you're out of bottom of the funnel. You're starting to get more into people who are in consideration for your product, but not necessarily having purchased it yet. That one is a little bit murky because for all of retail media, where conversion is the main reason why people are on these platforms, if I'm a chip brand, if I'm Lay's and someone is searching for chips, it's kind of bottom of the funnel. That person is ripe and ready for purchase. I can optimize for conversion rate and be pretty comfortable that I'm going to be getting a good ROI. On some other platforms, yeah, maybe that's in the consideration phase. Maybe that's at a bottom of it.
You don't have to nurture a chips customer for 3 months.
No, I do not.
It was a question I had as well of lower funnel, how much of that is audience and goals versus placements. And it sounds like you're primarily on the side of it's about who I'm targeting, their place in their journey. And placements can really be any number of things around that as long as it aligns with where that customer is in their journey.
Yeah, 100%. I don't define bottom of funnel as someone who's only searching on a retailer website or retailer.com or app. If that person has engaged with my products at some point in the past and I retarget them offsite with a display ad, that's totally a bottom of funnel activity.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good distinction that I think we'll get into a little bit more.
Well, we play with that a lot. subject of a previous talk, linked in the description below.
Nice. That was very smooth.
Yeah.
One of the things we have been playing with is, we can actually do more mid-funnel audience targeting and bottom-of-funnel audience targeting with what are thought of as upper-funnel placements,
Right.
and get great results. So like we did that with STV, with Prime Video ads, like not only targeting net new people, but realizing that, if someone's on the customer journey, like retargeting with a Prime Video ad, it can also be very powerful. Then you get into like more complex conversations of, is it the most effective use of budget or not? But it's totally possible. And that's exciting.
We're not here for that level of complexity, though. We are here for bottom of the funnel.
We'll dip a pinky toe into it around, because it brings up a good point, which is like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, everyone thought retail media, that's a lower funnel channel. And then we've spent all this time as practitioners and industry people talking of, oh no, we can revise that a little bit. There are good upper funnel tactics within a retail environment. And then now it seems like that's all we talk about, right? And so then the question is, there's that in terms of just the air consumed in the industry, but how is that actually translating to dollars when you're talking to brands? Are people trading lower funnel dollars because upper funnel is the hot thing? Or it's like they reach a level of maturity generally, and then they start to evaluate incremental budget for upper funnel? Is there a consistency there? Like, what does that look like?
There's definitely the sea change over the course of my career has been brands' appetite to move budget from the loyalty portion of the bottom. So I'll define the bottom of the funnel as anything where the goal is like purchasing the product. So retargeting my consumer who's viewed my product, and then loyalty, which is the very bottom of the funnel, which is retargeting people who have already purchased my product.
Mm-hmm.
And we're across PPC and DSP moving budget away from loyalty that has by far the highest ROAS, but the lowest incrementality often is very, very common. That's been the biggest change. So moving from 35% of your budget spent on branded search terms or 50% of your budget spent retargeting your past purchasers, having those percentages are dropping down. So now we're like as low as 5% on loyalty for some of our brands, as low as 15% of our budget or 10% for brand keyword defense or like defensive ASIN targeting. There, a lot of brands are willing to move that to just like, okay, I'm totally open to retargeting people that have visited my page but haven't made the conversion yet, or added to cart and haven't made the conversion yet, or like we were discussing before, they're really in market. They're searching for bottom of funnel keywords. Like they're looking for chips, but they don't know what brand they're looking for yet. Totally willing to put lots of budget into that. And that's been the biggest change.
So it has been some trading up of dollars, but it sounds like going back to the start where you're sort of like the purpose of lower funnel is to make sure that the demand you've generated doesn't leak out. Really, it's like, how many dollars do I need to allocate that to not screw up the other things that I'm doing?
Yeah, 100%. We're seeing there is less of a need to have all the dollars show that level of ROAS because it's more competitive. It's a more and more competitive environment, and you have to be generating more visibility at the bottom of the funnel in order to grow incrementally. You can't just capture the demand of people that are already searching for your brand and grow 2 or 3x anymore.
Yeah. One last question I have here, and then I know Julie will bring us back into the actual discussion points from your talk at the summit. But while we're just leaping from tangent to tangent, when we think about this area of the funnel from a placement standpoint where a lot of money traditionally went into sponsored products, it made me think of, I don't know if you've come across this, but this idea of like the law of the shitty click-through, which is like something Andrew Chen, he ran growth at Uber, not Goober, but where it's like the first banner ad, 80% click-through rate in the early 90s. And then Facebook comes online and now all of a sudden we see like 0.05% click-through rate. Is probably much lower now, right? But just the general idea that a novel marketing channel emerges, everyone gets into that. There's this frothy activity, click-through rates are great, and then diminishing returns set in over time. I'm wondering, how much do we see this law of shitty click-throughs apply to sponsored products, which has been around for years and years now? Is this something where it's still a compelling offering as a placement, or is like competition there so intense now that you have to diversify out of just, I got to win these key terms, or somewhere in the middle? I'm just curious, when you think about sponsored products now versus 10 years ago, less compelling, similarly compelling, more compelling?
Similarly compelling.
Okay.
Because the options to hit people at the bottom of the funnel are wider now. So it used to be like, oh, a sponsored product was basically the only thing that you could use to hit people. Now you have sponsor brand video, you have display options on-site and off-site, like I mentioned. Sponsored products is still probably one of the most important and valuable investments you can make to maximize the bottom of the funnel. But what's changed is there are now a lot of tools to refine that. And refinement is really the thing that I will harp on, or that I harped on at the summit. Now we have the option to refine, whereas you used to just be able to maybe put like a broad keyword in. Okay, now you've got to focus on an exact match. Whereas you used to just be able to target the keyword. Now you have to focus on top of search to gain the incrementality or to have the best conversion rate. Whereas in the past, you might have been able to just try and bid all day. Now we don't try and bid all day. Now we try and bid on the most opportune times of the day where we can see our dollars go the furthest or where there's the most demand. And now with AMC, we don't need to bid on every single person who's searching for a keyword. We can bid on the subset of people that are most likely to be a customer. That's the future. The refinement of that practice is going to be where we're all focusing our efforts for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I think Jordan has been looking for an opportunity to speak to the law of shitty click-throughs for quite some time, and I'm grateful that it fits so nicely here.
Guilty.
Going back to just the tactics tied to the lower funnel, during your talk at the Commerce Media Brand Summit, you talked about 4 key tactics tied to bottom of funnel. We can categorize them kind of 50-50, with half being, don't forget these are super important, with day parting and kind of the dependency, the interdependency between paid and organic. And then there's the shiny object category where we're talking about video and bottom of funnel, as well as AI. I mean, here we go. We can't have a conversation without the use of AI in bidding and budget allocation. For right now, let's talk about the oldies but goodies and maybe focus first on day parting. What are some of the real essentials to effective use of day parting when you're focused on bottom of funnel?
I would say there's like 2 buckets of things to think about with day parting. One, there's the day parting piece of it, which is what day of the week or day of the month is most important for your brand. And the other is the hour parting of it, which is like what hours of the day are the most important target. So a lot of the times our brands look at day parting. It's funny because it's called day parting, but everyone really meant hour parting.
Right.
Day parting rolls off a little
Parts
bit.
of the day.
Some parts of the day. I know it's parts of the day. But what we found is that optimizing for day of the week is almost more important, especially on retail. We found for a lot of our brands, there's distinct weekend activity. You don't want to be wasting all your budget midweek because most of your demand is coming in on the weekend for any number of reasons. Making sure that we allocate budget to the right days of the week with rules that shift our average daily caps down so that we have more room on the weekend is really important. But then the hours of the day matter too, because you don't want to spend all your money in the early morning before the majority of your West Coast audience wakes up. And then you will have missed the opportunity to do really good capture of, especially if you're a brand where your data suggests that your customer index is more heavily to the West Coast. You can't be giving up all that time to other advertisers.
That makes sense.
A really fun tactic this is not tried but true, but this is maybe a little bit more advanced. Of all the advertisers that are out there advertising using day parting or not, like inevitably they run out of budget by the end of the day because there's so much demand. What we found is that it's actually really helpful to have a day parting rule on to like stop a campaign from running until really late in the day and then swoop in and capture that time period after more brands have run out. We find the CPCs are usually much lower. The conversion rate is higher. It's important to compete all day, but to have a campaign that's dedicated to that latter portion of the day spend has been really effective.
This is the campaign that's targeted at degenerates like me that are searching for chips at 11 o'clock at night. And and sell those things.
I need these chips so bad.
Right. The other one that Julie touched on outside of day parting or week parting or whatever period of time parting we want to discuss here is the one around the interdependency of paid and organic. And I feel like traditionally we think of this as like keyword alignment, right? If I'm trying to rank for something organically, I also want to make sure my targeting aligns with that. Is that the sort of end all be all of organic and paid interdependency? Like, where do you see as the most impactful things when I'm thinking about all areas of my business marching towards the same end goal?
When we're talking about maximizing the bottom of the funnel, there can be no more powerful North Star than to make sure that your brand team understands that there are some keywords that we must optimize for. No matter what product benefits the brand team wants to include, no matter what your external research suggests is like a powerful benefit, if we're not optimizing for those keywords, we're missing out on search volume, we're missing out on click-through rate and conversion rate that we could have, because at the bottom of the funnel, when someone searches for a long tail non-branded keyword for chips like dill pickle ruffled chips, if you don't have dill pickle ruffled chips in your title, you're going to have a really hard time converting, no matter how good your main image is, no matter how good your video is. And the algorithm is going to have a hard time parsing that as well. And AI is going to have a hard time parsing that too. That is a tried and true methodology that I don't think you can never really forget.
It's a very niche reference in your example.
Yeah, I still feel targeted in this sort of through line, I'm going to say.
You're that one searching for the dill pickle chips.
It's a sequential campaign. We started just talking about now we're working our way down.
Well, continuing to work our way down through all buckets and categories when we're talking about lower funnel tactics, you're very bullish when it comes to use of video placements. And oftentimes brands can make what could be a mistake of just thinking video is video is video. And the video you use for upper funnel placements is just as good and can be used for lower funnel placements. How do you approach this? You love a very strong take and a hot take, and I feel one coming.
One thing I like about making sure you're utilizing video at the bottom of the funnel, and what I've found across a lot of the different brands that I've worked with, is that having video that speaks to your consumer can really, really impact performance. So we've actually been testing a lot of vertical video versus the horizontal video on Amazon because we have that option now. We found that the vertical videos by some metrics, like for the bottom of the funnel where we care, not for our branded keywords necessarily, but for some of our non-branded keywords where people are raising their hand and saying, yep, I want this product. Do you have the right one? That vertical video can actually have considerably better click-through rate, considerably better conversion rate, even higher new to brand rate, because you're able to just tell the story of the product a little bit better. So having good quality video in the ad space is in this area just as important as having it on your product detail.
The vertical, does that change where that placement runs? It's still running in SERP?
It actually doesn't. It doesn't change where it runs. It runs in the same on-site. So I've just heard this. Apparently there is a locked beta for off-site DSP OLV vertical video, but not available widely yet. But on-site, it runs in the same placements. It's just a little bit taller.
Right. Well, and presumably on mobile, I think of
and optimized for mobile.
Brand, in desktop SERP makes sense, but in mobile, it's it's going to look like an Instagram reel or a TikTok.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What we found is that there's a big difference between videos that highlight product features, videos that highlight unique KPIs, unique ingredients, unique benefits are much more powerful at the bottom of the funnel than general branding videos. If you're putting out a video that looks really great, I don't know. What always comes to mind is an episode of The Simpsons where Homer has a snowplow company. They make a video ad for him that's just two people singing opera, and then they throw a snow globe on the ground and it says Mr. Plow. That doesn't work.
That's top of funnel.
That's more top of funnel. There you're building your brand. There you're trying to get a feeling going.
And that's not vertical.
Yeah, at the bottom of the funnel, it really, really pays to optimize for what the product benefits are. Click-through rate improves, conversion rate improves, ROAS improves. And that's what really matters at the bottom here.
I think we just found our artwork for this podcast episode is Homer with the snowplow.
Yeah. I wish we had done Simpsons reference for each of these questions now. But
Not saying we couldn't go back and do it.
Before we get ourselves into trouble, maybe wrapping with this last question, which is, again, as in subservience to our AI overlords, we need to bring it back to that repeatedly. But this idea of media optimization from a bid and budget allocation standpoint and having that being more and more AI driven, what is your take on? I know this will diverge a lot depending on the practitioner and the sort of methodology. So I'm just wondering, for you specifically, the brands that you manage, is AI still a supplement to the sort of legacy rule-based and manual optimizations? Is it the primary thing and then you supplement that with rule-based automations? Where do you see the ratio of AI bidding and budget allocation to sort of default strategy?
Where we are right now is utilizing AI for some of our goals, but not all, because there's a basket of, especially at the bottom of the funnel, there's a basket of PPC and DSP tactics where you're optimizing for a core KPI like conversion rate or ROAS, and the machine, for lack of a better word, is really good at ruthlessly chunking through that and hitting your target at a level that is totally worth it. For the amount of effort it is to set that up, if it gets to like 85, 90% of the target, that's totally valuable. I'll take that 100% of the time so that then I can dedicate myself and my teams 100% of our time to really dialing in to the manual adjustments that matter the most, where we can get an outsized impact on the account. So if I've got my catalog of 100, most of my revenue is coming from the top 20% of products, I can focus my efforts on the top 20% of products and really tweak them and make sure I'm getting the most out of it. The bottom 80%, the AI is going to do a very, very good job of hitting my targets across most of my goals. And I see that moving further and further in that direction. Mm-hmm. So more and more of the baseline performance is going to be managed very capably by the AI that's set up very well intentionally by us and monitored by us. But then we can spend the rest of our manual time making the adjustments where it counts. And I can't tell you the number of brands that we've audited where the big agency's main selling point is their AI. And then when we meet that brand, when we meet that agency for the handoff, they tell us like, no, the AI is not on. We've been managing it.
This is our friend. His name is AI.
Ross, I appreciate you coming on. And you might be at the bottom of the funnel, but you're at the top of our hearts.
Wow. Thank you.
We couldn't not bring a level of cheese.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Now I can't think of a good cheese reference.
Thanks, Ross. This was fun.
Thank you.